Hello, everyone. This is Enrica Jang here in Baltimore, Maryland. Here with Poe Baltimore here tonight to talk about the Saturday Visitor Awards 2023 edition, recognizing a new generation of artists and writers inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. If you are not yet familiar with the awards, or you're seeking information, maybe what's new, you're familiar with the awards, want to know what's coming up for 2023, our live Q&A sessions, we'll be doing this every Thursday night from now through January 19th. Call for entries opens to talk about the awards, give everybody an opportunity to send your questions in. This is an opportunity tonight. Send your questions in the comments, and I will be very, very happy to try to answer these live. You probably have a question that somebody else also has. Somebody else probably wants that information, so don't be shy. Send those questions my way. If I do get some questions from people during the week, we'll also try to bring some of those questions up onto into the sessions and share the information with everybody, because I guarantee if somebody's got a question, somebody else wants to know the answer as well. So we want to share information and get everybody ready for our call for entries, which will open on Poe's birthday, January 19th. A little bit about Poe Baltimore. Poe Baltimore is the nonprofit organization created to fund, maintain, and interpret the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland. The second part of our mission is to celebrate Edgar Allan Poe's legacy, both here in Baltimore and beyond. This coming year will be the 5th year for the Saturday Visitor Awards. We're very, very proud also to join with other Poe places in the United States, the Poe Museum Richmond, the Poe Cottage in New York, the Poe Studies Association, organizations also devoted to all things Poe, to celebrate artists and writers inspired by Poe, new generations of folks. Of course, a plug for the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum. If you haven't had an opportunity to come visit us in Baltimore, we are open every Thursday through Sunday from 11 to 4. Reservation only basis at this time, but we do invite you to come to Baltimore, see the house where Poe began his professional career. Talk a little bit about the history of the awards. You saw a little bit of that story in our video just now. This is the house, though, where Poe makes his chosen family. This is the house where Poe begins his professional writing career, begins to write the short stories that would make him, of course, so very, very famous, which is why we love his work. So come to Poe House, learn more about that history, and ask some questions. So the purpose of tonight is to talk about the Saturday Visitor Awards. It's just me tonight, just me all on my own, so I'll be shifting back and forth between toggles, but I will see questions begin to queue up in the chat, in the social media feed. So send those questions my way, and we'll try to cover everything tonight. I'll stay on as long as people have some questions. If not, you'll be able to see the recording here on Facebook or here on our YouTube channels. You might even be able to find the video on Twitter or even on Twitch. So look for those. Well, I see someone. Hey, Michael, I see you watching in Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana. Very, very cool. I visited Louisiana in the before time, the long before time, the before COVID time. It's been a really long time since I've been to your part of the country. I do have very fun memories, though. All right, so SaturdayVisitorAwards.org, that is the site where you're going to find most of the information, most of what you're going to need. We're going to even go over a lot of what you're going to find on that website during these sessions. But visit SaturdayVisitorAwards.org. It's going to take you to a page that actually has all of the things that we'll be talking about. Entry guidelines, you can even download those guidelines, print them off, take a look at them, and go through them yourself, spend a little time in there. We have a page with some other frequently asked questions, a lot of stuff that we cover. And again, we try to cover this stuff over and over again, but there's always somebody new coming to one of these sessions, and somebody just wants that information, wants to know that they're not alone. So frequently asked questions on the website, but feel free to join us every Thursday from now through the 19th when the call for entries opens. If you have a question, you can hopefully see the email address here. Contact us via email at contact@poefestinternational.org. Those questions come directly to me. I am the awards administrator. I'm going to see your question. We're going to try to get you an answer as quickly as possible. The one thing that we ask is, we are doing these live Q&A sessions on social media, but this is the only time to send us something. Please don't send your question via our Facebook page or via Twitter, something like that. If you have a question, either send it via email or send it in the live session, but a different team answers those questions on Facebook, answers those questions on social media. So that's the one thing that we ask. Try to contact us directly, or talk to me here tonight on one of these sessions. Now, some dates to remember, very, very important dates to remember for 2023. January 19th, Edgar Allan Poe's birthday, is when our call for entries opens. The portal for entries will open at 12:01 a.m. That is Eastern Time, New York time. Calls for entries open at 12:01. Poe's birthday, January 19th. May 30th is the entry deadline. We close that portal at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Kind of shut that window right down on your fingers. Try not to wait until the very last minute to send your entry. I know we're all creative types. We tend to wait to the last bit. I've got a lot of baking to do, a lot of cleaning to do. While we're under deadline, don't wait till the very end. Get your entry in as soon as possible. That way, if there's anything that needs to be fixed, we can do that right away for you. The May 30th is the deadline, Edgar Allan Poe deadline to enter. If all goes well, if judging goes well, if everything goes according to plan, July 30th is when nominees are announced, when people who have entered should hear whether or not they have been nominated for the awards. And then October 7th will be the 2023 date for the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival and Awards. Nominees are invited to attend the festival, to exhibit at the festival, talk about their work, and of course the awards ceremony at the Black Cat Ball will happen in Baltimore, October 7th. So the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival next year. So these are the dates to remember. These are the things to keep in mind. Now, we will be talking more in depth about the awards, some tips and tricks tonight. I will jump ahead to say that for those who are not familiar with the awards categories, awards are offered in two categories: adaptations of Poe's life or works and original works inspired by Poe. And I have a little video to share with everyone that talks about these categories. I don't have my camera on. People can't see me dancing to the music in the back. I've heard that song so many times, but I still love it every year. So the two Saturday Visitor Awards categories. So works can be submitted, adaptations of Poe's life or works. Now, these were more what might expect someone that might expect more classical, direct, straight adaptations of Poe's work. You see film or dramatic adaptation, obviously. Lots of different retellings of Poe's work, bringing Poe's work or even his life to a medium. Portraiture counts here because Poe was a historical figure. He existed, so he would fall into an adaptation of Poe's life or works. Biography counts here as well because of the narrative nature of biography. Now, I've seen some really, really cool hybrids recently with Poe's story, where you have, biographical novels, which is this fun, fun new category of book. I suppose it's not new; it's new to me, new to me category of book, and I'm seeing a lot of those. But biography does follow here. Fall into the adaptation category, and anything that's sort of taking historical figure even from Poe's life and portraiture here, or a direct adaptation of them would fall here. Now, I want to note here that the Saturday Visitor Awards are intended to recognize artistic works rather than academic criticism. So those academic papers, treatises, this kind of thing, that is not for the Saturday Visitor Awards. We really are looking for more on the artistic side. Original works inspired by Poe, the second category is now Poe's life as a character in a film, novel, or play, not taking Poe's direct words, but rather works immediately inspired by Poe, original works rooted in Poe. Sequels follow here, a prequel might follow here, or Poe as the basis for your own original story, and original poetry follows here. So these are examples of these categories. Now, I understand that this might seem a little bit weird, and we're all creatives, so again, this kind of your creative work might blur the line somewhere in there. And one of the things I like to say is, if there's a question, there's no question. Send us your question. You are not spoiling anything by asking the administrator, asking me where something's going to work. If you really don't know, send me an email, describe your work, and then we can talk about like where you would be best fit to be put in there. The other thing I will say is, let's say we get your piece, you've submitted in the original works category, and as the administrator, I'm like, I think this is more adaptation. Of course, it's a creative piece. You thought it was sort of part of an original work, but I see more of Poe in here, so we might put you over the adaptation category, and vice versa. Something you might have considered an adaptation of Poe's work, but really does sort of make an original twist on things. We think it fits more in the original works. You will not be penalized for getting kicked over to another category. So that is not something to really worry about. But if there's any doubt in your mind, or if you have a question, if there's any question, no question, send us your question and we'll try to get you squared away. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight on what we're thinking about with these categories. Now, to delve a little bit deeper into these, we will sort of talk about the primary considerations. When we're thinking about a primary consideration for the adaptations category, the judges, a panel of judges is asked, if someone asked you for an introduction to Poe's life or writing, would you recommend this piece to them? Is the piece a contribution worthy of Poe's legacy, presenting Poe's writing or the facts of Poe's life in a creative and original way? This is the primary consideration for the adaptation category. And if you feel that your piece really meets this primary consideration, this is the category to enter your work. Similarly, the original works category, the primary consideration, the judges literally have this consideration in front of them when they're asked to judge your piece. Is the work essential rather than merely commercial? For the original works category, if someone who already loved Poe asked you, the judge, as an expert, to recommend works with a dramatic take on Poe's life or writing, would this piece make your best of list? Ahistorical works are eligible here. So these are the primary considerations that the judges are looking at, are asked to consider. And there are a couple of other smaller things that they're asked to look at and sort of grade you on. But these are the primary considerations. And this is something that you as creator can ask yourself when you're submitting this work. And you're submitting your artist statement, kind of talking about why you're drawing this line from your work to Poe, or Poe to your work. So it's something to consider. You have to choose. There are a lot of prolific people out there inspired by Poe. Poe is a very inspiring figure, and so you, as an artist, may have created quite a few works. You might have an entire career of works inspired or adapting Poe, and we are asking you to choose. You may only submit one work per category. So you can't play the numbers here. You got to submit, you got to choose, you got to kill your darlings. One piece per category. This becomes a little bit easier when we consider eligibility, and I'll talk to you a bit about here. You can visit SaturdayVisitorAwards.org. I'm kind of going through these a little quickly, but we'll talk about eligibility. Pieces that are eligible for submission for our call for entries. We are looking for media, art, performance, and or writing that adapts or is inspired by Edgar Allan Poe's life and works. There are no restrictions by medium or genre. I gotta fix these dates here, actually. Let me understanding eligibility. We're looking for completed works that were first released, published, printed, or available to be seen by the public at some point in the previous 3 years. And that means between January 1, 2020 through December 31, 2022. 3 years of eligibility for your work. We're looking for Poe in popular culture. This is why there is a limit on eligibility. So if you created something like 5-10 years ago, you're just hearing about the awards, sorry, you won't be able to enter your piece for the Saturday Visitor Awards. You got to create something new, but it's got to be something in the last 3 years. So you really want to understand eligibility and what we're looking for here. Traditional and not so traditional works are acceptable. So traditionally published, traditionally released, your film, distributed, this kind of thing, that of course can qualify. But we are living in some interesting times when it comes to social media, our digital works, self-published works, this kind of thing. So not so traditional distribution and publishing works too, something to keep in mind. If your work is visible to the public, something that the public can see right now, they go to your website, they go to your Facebook page, that kind of thing, that counts, but it must have been released by December 31 of this year. So you can, we're not looking for something that is just on the New York Times best-selling list or anything like that. We're really not looking for that. We're looking at work that is available to the public. We're looking at Poe and popular culture, traditional and not so traditional works too. If there's any question about this, there's no question. You want to send any questions you may have our way, and we're happy to get you squared away. A question that I do get asked pretty frequently. It's something that was created but was password protected, something that was published online, but it's not something that the public could see. Somebody had to have a special link to get to it. Those can't count. We need something that is available for the public to be seen, available for the world to see. It's not something that can just be in a notebook scribbled away in your house. It has to have been out there. You got to put yourself out there before you put yourself forward for the Saturday Visitor Awards. So something to keep in mind. Some other important things to remember we'll go through tonight. I'm not seeing any questions in my comment section yet. I see a couple of eyeballs watching us tonight, but I encourage you, if you do have some questions as we go on through, I'll stay on for you and try to answer those. But important things to remember, there's some things that I see, that we see every year, mistakes that people make, or things that people don't keep in mind, and they're not paying attention to the guidelines for eligibility. So I really do want to reinforce several of these things. The first is that understanding eligibility. Again, looking for completed works, first released, published, printed, available to be seen by the public at some point in the previous 3 years, between January 1, 2020 through December 31, 2022. What date is it? Oh my goodness, it is December 29th, 2022. You have precisely 2 days left to get your work out there, out to the public, or you have to wait 1 more year to submit for the Saturday Visitor Awards. So something to keep in mind, December 31, if you're gonna get your work out there to be put forward for the Saturday Visitor Awards next year, you gotta have it out by December 31 of 2022. Definitely keep that in mind. We're not kidding when we say any genre and any medium. Previous Saturday Visitor Award nominated works have included short films, feature films, comic books, paintings, sculpture, songs, animation, scripts, novels, poetry. We've seen almost everything. I'm always delighted by the new mediums that we see each year. But we've even seen beadwork, some really beautiful, beautiful work. We've seen clocks. One piece nominated last year was a clock, gorgeous work. If it's a creative piece, we want to see it. And any genre. Edgar Allan Poe, noted for horror, of course, but he was also a little funny. And he was actually very funny. He was also, you have a lot of room here. So we're really not looking for, we're of course very happy to see some of those horrific and ghoulish and ghastly and gothic pieces, of course. But we've seen some creators really have a lot of fun with plays on Poe. So it's something to consider. Any genre, any medium, you are not limited in this way to send your work. Now, long form entries. Creators are asked to provide a link to their entire piece. When you submit your work, you will be sending an electronic link to your piece. Unfortunately, we don't have the budget to send a judge to your state. We can't send them to Louisiana to come and see your piece in person. Sorry, Michael. But long form entries are permitted here. You'll be asked to send a URL to your piece. But let's say your piece is a novel, or let's say that you have been doing a podcast about Edgar Allan Poe for several years, and you're interested in submitting one of your entries to the awards. You should send a link to the complete work, but the judges obviously probably can't go through all of your work. We'll only be looking at the period piece within the period of eligibility. So you will be asked to highlight the best 20 minutes or the best 10,000 words of your piece. You'll be asked for page numbers, or you'll be asked for timestamps. Judges are most likely to view this excerpt in the first round of judging. And then if your piece makes it to the next round, then they are likely to take that longer look. So when you're considering submitting a long piece, longer than 20 minutes, longer than 10,000 words, something like that, when you submit that, do think about what you're going to highlight, what you're going to ask the judges to jump to first in your piece, because that's what they're likely going to be looking at in the first round of judging. Now, if it's the first 10 minutes of your piece, if it's the first 10,000 words of your piece, that's totally fine. You can tell them to start at the beginning and just keep going. And if your piece is great, they're going to want to. So that's entirely okay too. You don't have to jump around if you don't want to, but do start to consider what you're going to highlight for the judges to look at first. They'll likely look at more of it once that you get past the first round, but that's something to keep in mind. Now, again, you're going to be asked to provide a working link to your work. Emphasis on the word working. The URL that you send us has got to work. We're going to make one attempt. We do get a lot of entries. We're going to make one attempt to contact the artist. If the link provided is broken or requires a password, but that's something to keep in mind. If we cannot reach you, or you fail to provide a link, your entry is going to be disqualified. And after all of that work and all of the dedication and the follow through to submit your piece in the first place, you don't want to drop out for something like that. So ask a friend to help you if you don't know what a URL is, but you're going to be required to provide an electronic link to your work. You want to be ready, and you want to make sure that it in fact works. Do not require a password for people to see it. Don't require anything funny or anything weird. Which brings me to my next point. Make it easy to view. You're going to be sending a link to judges. You don't know what kind of account they have. They might not have a Facebook account. They might not have a Twitter account. They may not have a Kindle or a Nook account or something like that to view. So we know there are artists out there that have to work with crazy programs and file types when they create. You do you. But when you submit your work for the judges to see, you do need to deliver the file in a format that is universal and can be opened without a special program. PDFs are recommended, PNGs, JPEGs, these kinds of things are recommended. Something that your average computer will be able to open, does not require After Effects or anything like that. We really do discourage editable files. What I mean by that, Word files, Pages files, anything that you send me the file, I go in, I click on the cursor, and my cursor goes in there, and I can start to change things or move things around. You really don't want to send a file like that, because inevitably the formatting is going to be weird. All files can look different on different computers, and judges are good. You've got 3 different people who are going to be judging your piece, so you want to send us a file that's universal. So don't send us something editable where the fonts are going to skate around, this kind of thing. And that goes with social media too. When you send something on Facebook, or a link to something on Facebook, or a link to something on Instagram, you really don't know how that's going to show up on the judge's computer. So our recommendation is to turn it into a PDF, indicate where it was first published, but send it in a way that the judges are going to be able to see. Assume the judges don't have a Kindle account. We have several people who have sent us files that require a $0 purchase. We're not going to do that. We're not going to send that to the judges. You don't send us somewhere that is going to require a special kind of download. Send us the file itself. Some other do's and don'ts we'll cover while I'm on here. Again, not seeing any questions kind of coming through on the comments, but that doesn't mean you don't have them. So I'll put our email back up here in just a little bit, but we'll go over some more do's and don'ts. Do's, I think some things that are very helpful for people that are considering. Do use file sharing services like a Dropbox or Google Drive when you can provide a link to something like that. That's actually very, very helpful. Do link directly to the work. If you can send us a Dropbox links to the file itself, that's really, really great. We've had some folks like send us a website and give instructions to scroll down halfway and then click on that. Try not to do that. I'd like to think that people who are interested on Poe like to read, but you don't want to make it too difficult, and you don't want to give them a whole bunch of instructions that they have to read before they even get to your work. So do link directly to the work. Don't try to provide complicated instructions to kind of lead somebody there. Take them by the hand and take them there. And we do encourage you to package covers or multiple pages into a single file. So let's say you've written a novel and it comes with a book cover. You can include that in the package. You want to make sure that that is a complete package, though. One file to rule them all. When you open the one thing, it's going to open up everything. You don't want to kind of have someone have to like click around or like send the cover file and then send the separate file and then send the this file and blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Zip files are acceptable, but a PDF is preferred. Don'ts, my favorite thing. Don'ts. Don't send us links that require passwords to open. This happens every year. You're going to get one chance for me to contact you and tell you, hey, give us a different link, something that doesn't require a password. So play around with it. Make sure it does not require a password to open. Only the judges are going to be receiving your link and opening your link, so you don't have to hide anything from them. Please don't use transfer services that expire after 30 days. You really don't know when the judges are going to be looking at your piece. If a link expires, that is just, again, it's another failed link. So really better to send, again, something like Dropbox or something like Google Drive. It's something that's not going to expire because you don't know when the judge is going to be opening things. So don't use transfer services that expire after certain times, blah, blah, blah. And I have mentioned this again, it's one of my pet peeves. Don't link to websites that require $0 purchases, even if it's on something like Amazon or Barnes. Like, please don't do that. It's just, please don't do it. Finally, one big don't, and this is new that I saw last year that too many people were trying to do, and we're making this very explicit in the form this year. Don't enter a URL for your artist statement in a lame attempt to get around the character limit. When you send your piece, you're going to be asked to send a link to the work. You will also be given an opportunity to make a statement for the judges to consider. We've had people instead of pasting the text of their statement into their application or into their entry form, they give us a link that we have to click to open their giant tome of a statement. And they thought that they were being cute. I see you. We are only going to accept the text of your statement, and we're not going to include the link for the judges to read. So please take this seriously. Don't try to get around the rules. It's not cute. It really isn't. Something to consider. I'm smiling about it because I thought it was really funny that too many people tried to do it, but we're not going to do that this year. No games, just art. All right. Well, I hope that is clear. Before tonight's session, I have had a couple of questions come through via email, and I thought I would create some slides for these to talk to folks and share. And again, if somebody's got a question, likely somebody else has this question too. So someone sent a question: what about children's books or media? Is there a separate category, or are children's books, that kind of media, judged in the same category as something else? The answer is there is no separate category. Something to note: several of our past year nominees have been children's titles. one was even created by a child. So the judges, when I showed you those primary considerations for the work, age is not one of those things, or the target audience is not one of the primary considerations. It's not even one of the considerations that the judges are looking at. They're looking at, is the piece worthy of Poe's legacy? So it's something to consider. So there's no limit. Again, no limit in genre, no limit in media, and children's books are going to be judged against any other piece that's submitted, because the criteria for entry to the Saturday Visitor Awards is the piece inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, and how well does the creator execute that. And that's it. So it's something to consider. So that's one of the questions, and the answer is no. There is no separate category for children's media. Second question: what about excerpts of larger works? Can I submit a completed piece or chapter or segment with the understanding that it's part of a larger work that hasn't been completed yet? The answer is no. We want to see complete works. Now, let's say you only have one short story in a collection of short stories. If you submit that, your piece is going to be judged as a standalone short story. It's not going to be judged as part of a collection of other works. Now, if you wish to submit a collection of short pieces, that is highly encouraged, and the collection will be judged as on the entry as a whole. But that's something to consider. So let's say you've been working a long time on a novel. You have some excellent excerpts from this novel, but the novel itself is not finished and the novel itself has not been published. Can you submit that piece, chapter, segment? No. It's not going to be considered a novel at that point. It might be considered some weird alien chapter sitting by itself, but it's not going to be considered, and the larger work is not going to be named. So I hope that's clear. If the piece is not finished, take your time. The awards will be coming back. This is an annual awards offered presented by Poe Baltimore, and you will have more time, and your piece is eligible for 3 years. So it's something to consider. These are the questions that I have received. So, all right, so we are at the 30-minute mark. I'll go back and again highlight where to go. If you do have questions, SaturdayVisitorAwards.org. Again, you're going to find just about everything on the website. You can even see a video of our past nominees and winners from the 2022, this past year. We had a beautiful ceremony at the Black Cat Ball at Westminster Hall, just steps from where Edgar Allan Poe and other members of his family are buried. It was a beautiful night in Baltimore. Really, really exciting, and congratulations to all of our 2022 winners. But if you're interested in entry guidelines, if you want to see other frequently asked questions, if you want to send us an email, questions about your piece individually, highly encourage you to do so. And the dates, again, to remember: call for entries for the Saturday Visitor Awards will open on Edgar Allan Poe's birthday, January 19th at 12:01 a.m. And the place to go to see to enter your piece is also SaturdayVisitorAwards.org. All right. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. We're going to have another session next Thursday to talk about the Saturday Visitor Awards. But if you'd like to connect with us in other ways, the awards are presented at Poe Fest International. So you can follow us on Facebook, also on Twitter. We're Poe Baltimore on Instagram. You can follow us at Poe Baltimore as well. And we have our YouTube channel. If you're not watching on YouTube tonight, we do need subscribers. So hit subscribe and you'll be automatically notified when we're about to go live to talk more. Again, your donations, your support keeps Poe's chamber door open to visitors. Please consider making a donation to Poe Baltimore, especially for your end of year giving. And for those of you who are going to be in Baltimore Way, something to consider, again, Poe's birthday, we are going to have a celebration this year at Westminster Hall and Burying Ground, a murder mystery for Edgar Allan Poe's birthday, the death of Poe toaster. Dagger in man's heart, man or woman's heart. But come to Westminster Hall, spend Poe's birthday with us, and we hope to see you in Baltimore one day soon. Thank you again, and have a wonderful and happy New Year. Thanks a lot, guys.